Welcome to day 6 of the 12 Days of Chanmas. This is just like flying by, and I feel like we've covered so much up to this point. There's so much that you can take from the first 5 days of Chanmas, and it's all building on itself. So in the 6th day of Chanmas, we're going to talk about how to stand out in your niche, in your space, through content alone. So there's 3 things that I'm going to teach you tonight that is going to completely allow you to stand out without having to post more, without having to, do anything crazy. It's just going to be 3 concepts that you're going to take with you that's going to change the game. Now, before we do that, there are still a couple of challenges going on. So if you take one of these replays and you share them to your stories and you tag me, you will get a free seat into my 2025 Exposed Masterclass. A lot of you have already claimed that. So that's all it takes. You just take one of these, the one that you feel like is really beneficial, you share it to your stories, and you tag me, you'll get a free seat. Now, the next piece of this is if you share 5 of these, and you don't have to do them all on the same night if you don't want to, but the 5 that you feel like have really shifted perspective for you, when you share 5 of them to your stories and you tag us in every single one so that we can see that, we're going to keep a tally, you're going to get a free content audit. So the content audit is designed to show you where you could improve, what you're doing well, and so that you can double down on that so that you can take over in 2026 with your content. That's the content audit. So you'll get that for free when you share 5 of these replays. All right. So standing out in your niche from content alone. We're going to talk about that today. Now, this is applicable to any niche. So what's interesting is I'm a business and a content coach, but I don't coach a lot of business and content coaches, which is somewhat abnormal. I coach various niches. So fitness, health and wellness, relationship, all different sorts of motherhood, all different sorts of niches. So this is proven and applicable to any niche. And the reason that it matters that you stand out in your niche is typically there's probably saturation in whatever lane you're in. And saturation to me is a good thing. It means that whatever you're offering, it's in demand. People want it. So don't be afraid of there's a lot of people doing fitness, I shouldn't do fitness. No, we just need to figure out the thing that's going to make you stand apart and cut through the noise. So using your content alone, before we get tactical and before we go into the actual strategy, we need to zoom out a little bit, because standing out is not about you getting louder or being polarizing or doing something crazy in your content so that all these people come and follow you. That's not what this is about. Standing out is also not about following all the trends and making sure that you keep up with the algorithm and whatever that is. And it's definitely not trying to figure out how you can say something that no one else has said before, because that's probably doesn't exist. Standing out happens. This is going to be the shift. Standing out happens when you allow your audience to feel like they're a part of something bigger, that they're a part of something with you. And this is the core truth that I just want you to take from this entire training is every move that you make in your content must be designed to cultivate community. So every single thing. So for example, when I go on this live, I'm cultivating community by turning this into a challenge, for example. That is not just for me. That is I'm bringing you in to be a part of what I'm doing here in the 12 days of Chanmas, versus creating content just so that you can get new followers or get a lot of likes or get some comments. There's a difference between cultivating community in your content and trying to create content so you keep growing and scaling and becoming more visible. There's a big difference. Community is the golden ticket. If someone were to say, if you could give one piece of advice to build a sustainable business, I would say build a community. Hands down, it's the people that you come back to time and time again, and they're already sold. They're bought in on what you do, on what you offer. This community, they're a bunch of hot leads that you use and you empower together. You're cultivating community, you're lifting up. And this community is your sustainable business model. Okay. Now, there's different ways that you can build community. And the one thing that I will start with is if you look at anyone who's built community, they've started at 0. So keep that in mind. They started at nothing. They had a very small community. It was probably a couple people at first. And then it started to become, it filled a room. And then it filled an arena. And then it filled a stadium. Again, cultivating community starts small. So allow yourself to be a beginner and have fun with it and figure out different ways you can do this. Now, there was one training where I talked about brand traditions. I think that was day 3. And we talked about how like brand traditions can be in real life events. So if you host like an in real life dinner, for example, it might start small, but imagine like in a year's time, this dinner turns into like this huge ballroom full of multiple tables and everyone comes for this dinner. Like you can have that big vision, but just know that you are starting at 0 and that is normal. And you want this community that you build to feel like when someone's a part of it, they feel like they're a part of a club. Like they feel like I'm on the in, like this is an inner circle that I'm a part of versus just like, oh, I follow this girl and I love what she posts. There's a big difference. Now you can do a couple of different things. You can name your community something or you can refer to them as something. So for example, I have the Takeover Mastermind and I oftentimes refer to them as the team Takeover. And that is intentional. Like even behind the scenes inside of Team Takeover, I'm instilling the core value that this is my mastermind is a team approach. Like you're not joining my mastermind and just getting me coaching on everything. Like there is a team mentality here and we're in a mastermind to mastermind. Like I expect there to be a team culture there. So I refer to them as Team Takeover because they're actually a team. It's team based. So again, I refer to them as Team Takeover. They're in their own little club. They have all become friends. It's like they turn into family. It's a beautiful thing. You might have a community where you refer to them as like, I don't know, maybe you call them like the baddies or something like whatever. And you're able to talk to them in a way where they feel like they're a part of something. And that's like step 1 of building the community is like naming it something. And so they know that they're a part of this thing and it's not a hierarchy, it's a collective of sorts. This doesn't have to live off of social media, by the way. I want to put that out there. Like you don't have to just have this community where it lives off of social media. Your community can be on social media and maybe like you do lives like I'm doing here and you come on and you say like, what's up baddies, again, whatever you want to call them. And you refer to them as this community and they're coming and they feel like they're a part of it with you. People need to hear your voice in that way. So when you are building a community, they're going to hear your voice, but also keep in mind, like you're not building community because like you have trauma bonded or like you're dumping all of your struggle and then they come and they join because they have struggle. You are building a community out of bringing them along for the journey. So go back and listen to, I think it's day 2, where I talked and I trained you on creating a signature series in your content. That is, you could use that to build your community and you could, again, speak to them as if they're in the club already along the journey of your signature series and they're being exposed to experiencing your process with you. They feel close to you. So that's why these things matter, like signature series and brand traditions, because you're cultivating community. Now, the second core concept that goes along with building community, this one's very interesting. You have to build community around an enemy. Like you have to have an enemy. Like if you want to have this cult-like community, there has to be an enemy. And one thing that is very important is the enemy is never another human. The enemy is not you villainizing a human or a person. The enemy, listen up, this is very important. The enemy is a shared frustration. The enemy is a shared disdain or a shared problem, something that you view as broken, and in your community, you fix that problem. That is the enemy. So for example, let's say you want to create, like let's say you're an Etsy guru, like you know how to create Etsy businesses and you're really good at that. And so your enemy is working a 9 to 5. Like that is the enemy. Like the clock in, the clock out, you're creating that as the enemy. Again, that's not a human. You're not villainizing a human. You're villainizing the matrix. Like you're like, okay, I can teach you how to build this Etsy business so that you can leave the 9 to 5, you can ditch the matrix and you can build your own thing so that you can have freedom. So the problem is the 9 to 5 and you've cultivated this community of people who have disdain for the 9 to 5. Like they want to get away from that. And you build this community around that enemy. You don't just mention the enemy. You don't just like say things like, oh gosh, like F your 9 to 5. Like this is so awful that you're in the matrix and you do the same thing every day and you're on autopilot. You actually go to war against the enemy. You talk about why it never worked for you. You talk about why it still makes you angry. You talk about how you're fighting this war against the enemy and you're committed to dismantling it. And so you build community around that. That is how you actually create a movement versus just an audience, is you stand against the problem. You turn the problem into the opposition. All right, let's see where we're at here. Okay, so the third thing here to standing out in your niche, we have number one was cultivating community at all costs. Like everything you do, you build community, you build team, you build it's not an audience, it's people that are in the club with you. The second thing is, in order to build that community, you have to have an enemy, which is not a human, it is the problem, the frustration. The third piece to this, to standing out in your niche, and the reason why people are going to perk up and feel like you're the one that they want to hire, the reason for that is not because you have really good branding on your graphics for your programs, or you have like perfect program names, or you have like these crazy promises that people get and these crazy results that they get in your world. That's not going to be the reason why people hire you, at least the people that you want in your world. The thing that is going to make you stand out in your niche, because again, there's probably thousands of people teaching what you teach. The one thing that's going to make you stand out amongst the masses is your ability to create a very solid signature core concept. Let me break this down. So every single offer that you create it has a title to it. And that title inside of the offer, you have an organized way of delivering information, of teaching, of mentoring, of guiding. Even if this is your one-on-one space and you don't do a lot of teaching, like I don't do a ton of teaching in my one-on-one space. People hire me as a private coach to mentor them. They don't need the strategy. However, I still have a concept. And I'm going to list off of a couple different ways that you could do this. But I will say, like, if I were pulling back the curtain entirely, the 12 days of Chanmas are so easy for me because of this. I am not going and creating like a whole script for these trainings. These trainings are coming from my concepts that I've already taught a million times over. So I'm not like studying and coming up and recreating the wheel. I have concepts that I've coined, that I've created, and I have an entire Google Doc listed where I call this my life's work. That's literally the title of the Google Doc. And I have different tabs where I list off my concepts. And at first, these start as just like beliefs. Like I believe that it's important to document versus create. And then I'll turn that into a program or a masterclass or a download. And then I create a concept from it. So the concept could be many different things. You can frame them many different ways. We're going to break this down. So the first thing that you could create is like your own philosophy. And you're going to talk to this philosophy. And the philosophy is like the compass. It's the belief system. It's the worldview that you teach inside of your world. The next thing you could create is a theory. So we have philosophy, we have theory. Your theory could be like your explanation of why things work a certain way. And you have this theory. Okay, like I just said, the document versus create theory. I've taught that before. I've created content around that before. You could have, this is very common to have, like creating a framework. Now, the reason that I'm talking you through this is because if you're missing this in your work and you're just slapping things together and then you're trying to sell your programs, there's a reason why you're plateauing. There's a reason why they're falling flat. There's a reason why people don't understand what they're getting when they hire you or why they should hire you in the first place. This is missing. So a really common one is creating a framework, which is like a loose structure. Maybe it's like some flexible rules. It's like the skeleton of what you teach inside of said program. The next one is a model. So maybe you come up with a model. And yesterday I taught you the model, the slay and sell. Actually, it was a method, but model. And the model is like a simplified version of reality. Like you're simplifying the model. So if I were to teach you business model, which one of these days, I forget what day it is, I'm teaching you my business model. If I were to teach you business model, that is the simplified version of the reality of business. So model is going to be the simplified version of that. Again, you might have like a method or a methodology. Those two words actually are defined differently. Like method is not the same as methodology. Methodology is a study of something, but whatever. You get the point. You don't have to get that serious about it. But the method is like your recipe. So you're creating a step-by-step, a recipe. For example, yesterday I taught you the slay and sell method. That was my recipe, the 5 points of selling in your Instagram stories. I created that. That is my method. So it's almost like if you were to trademark these things, which you can do, you can trademark them. You might have phases to a certain program. So I have one program called the Sold Out Launch Strategy, and that's another one, strategy. You could coin that. But there are phases to the Sold Out Launch Strategy, and I teach these it's crystal clear. Like there are 5 phases. I teach them. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. You could create a blueprint. That's another one that is very common. And the blueprint comes with exact instructions. Very clear. A technical plan comes with the blueprint. You could have a protocol, which is like standards, procedures, like whatever the protocol is. Maybe you even, like if you're in the like mindset or energetics realm, maybe you create a paradigm. And the paradigm is like the way that you teach a new way of seeing the world or seeing something. And you can call this like, you could call it the 12 days of the Chanmas paradigm, for example. Obviously, you wouldn't call it that, but that's just an example. You're going to name it something. You could have a formula. It could be a playbook. It could be, you would have pillars. They're all valid and they're all very powerful. But the goal here is I just listed a ton of these for you to take the programs that you already have and build authority by claiming a concept. Now, let's take this to the next step, because when you have this concept, you're obviously going to sound a little bit more professional. You're going to add credibility. You're going to sound like a real leader when you have concepts that you are fully baked. But the connection is, this is what you're selling to. So when you talk about, if you take everything that you learned yesterday from selling in your stories, one of the 5 points of selling was talking about the framework of the program. This is where you talk. This is it. Like, it's coming from this. So when you talk to, here's what you learn inside of the program, it's not just like, I'm going to teach you how to do this and how to do this and how to do this. What if you could say, I'm going to teach you the slay and sell method, which breaks down the 5 points of selling in your story so that you can do blah, blah, blah. And you're talking about, you're claiming your framework or your concept every time you sell. So this is going to truly increase your credibility when it comes to talking about these programs. And that's how people are going to understand the value. So you could do that in your stories. You can do that in your emails. You can do that obviously on your sales pages. You're going to break down the framework. And then when they hire you, they get the implementation of that concept. So that they know exactly what they're getting into. It's crystal clear to them because you have a methodology or some sort of like thing that you can coin and you can refer to. Now, here's how this could show up in your content. And my mentor actually taught me this. I can't claim this as my own, but I am going to call this the philosophy reel. So the way that you would create the philosophy reel, and I've done this in one of my posts, and I feel like it did really well, but this is one of those things that I feel like it's going to take some practice. And like even myself, like I need to practice this a little bit more. But the philosophy, the concept reel is a gold strategy, like golden. My mentor uses this left and right, and it does really well for her. The way that you would do this is you would create your framework as a visual. So actually, I'm going to give you a little tip here with AI. So we all know that there's multiple different like AI platforms. The one that is Gemini, which is Google's AI platform, you have the ability to like request an image from a drop-down menu. So what I would do is I would plug in your framework. Let's say the 5 phases of the sold out launch strategy. Let's say I type all those out, like here's what you do in phase 1, here's what you do in phase 2, and I put that into AI. I put that into Gemini. And I say, now that I've sent that into Gemini, I now say, turn this into a visual instruction. I don't know what's like the word I'm looking for. Like, I can't think of the word, but turn this into a visual framework. And then you're going to select image on Gemini. You're going to say, analyze this framework and turn it into a visual map of some sort. And hit send. It's going to take the entire framework that you just submitted, the entire phases of sold out launch strategy, and it's going to give you a visual to represent what you just came up with. Because a lot of times it's like, I love Canva, but I'm not a graphic designer. So when it comes to a visual of my framework, like that's where I lean on AI. Like AI is not, I hate on AI a lot because I'm a content coach. And I feel like if you're using ChatGPT or AI to write for you, to message for you, we got a problem. Like you need to be a little more authentic. Like that's a serious problem in my world. However, if you're using AI for things like this, that is where it's like, hell yeah, we need to be smart with AI. This is a way to be smart and utilize this. Now, you're going to get a picture of the map of your framework, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to have arrows on it. It's going to be super organized. It's going to be like in ways your brain couldn't have created. Gemini is going to do this for you. It's going to be awesome. Now, what you're going to do is you might recreate that same visual in Canva to like have your brand colors and your font, whatever you want it to look like. But now you have like a model of it. You're going to upload that into Canva, the picture of that model. And then you're going to green screen yourself on top of the framework. So this is the philosophy reel. Green screen yourself by overlaying your video in CapCut and then removing your background. So you're going to record yourself speaking to the framework. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can speak to this in your reel. You can say something like, my client started here and then went to here, the desired result, because of this one part of the framework that I teach inside of X program. And it's this. And like you're pointing to the screen, you have the framework behind you and you're talking about it. You're becoming known for this concept because you're telling stories around it. And it's also visual now. So that's a big deal. So you're always going to tie it back to the offer because your concept came from an offer. It's not something you just pulled out of thin air. Like it is something that is proven, that you've mastered it, you've turned it into a program, you've used it on clients. It is good to go. It's solid. This is going to skyrocket your credibility and going to separate you from the noise in your niche. It is truly going to differentiate you and like make you stand out so that people can understand, okay, well, this fitness coach over here is like, she's in really good shape. And I really think that like she would be fun to hire. But this fitness coach over here is talking about her proven framework and I can actually see it. I can conceptualize it. And I think I would get that framework if I hired her. So I'm going to hire her. See the difference here? It's like less, like you get to still be inspirational and motivational and be yourself and create fun content, but you take it up a notch in your professionalism when you have frameworks and concepts. And then if you ever wanted to do like 12 days of Chanmas and you wanted to teach people just to get back to freaking teaching, you have all these concepts now that you can refer back to. It's like a long list. Whew. All right. That is the end of today's training. So the perspective shift for you today to stand out in your niche and to stand out amongst all of the people doing what you're doing. It's not about more content. It's not about getting more followers and like having super good hooks and things that make you go viral and doing the trial reels and being on TikTok and all these different things. It's not necessarily about that. How can you serve the people that are already in your audience? You can get better at what you do. And how do you get better at what you do? You refine the way that you lead. So if you refine the way that you lead and you lead with building community, you clearly have a problem that you stand against and not just solve, but something you're at war with. And then third, you have a named thinking. You have a named concept so that when people think of you, they can say, hi, Janu. This is really great, Chan. Thank you for your energy. Love you so much. Thank you for being here. When people think of you, they can think, I know exactly what she stands for. I know exactly what she's going to do for me. I know exactly what I'm going to get when I hire her. And it feels crystal clear. At that point, you've already won. Okay. That is the training for today. Don't forget about the challenge. If you share this replay to your Instagram stories and you tag me, you're going to get a free seat. We will send you a promo code to the 2025 Exposed Masterclass, which is coming up at the beginning of January. That one's going to be really good. And then if you share 5 of these after watching 5 of the trainings, you will get a free content audit, which is going to explode your content. Awesome. Love the hat. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. My mom got me this hat. All right, y'all. Have a great night. And I will see you. Tomorrow's day 7. Tomorrow is day 7 of Chanmas. That's crazy. I will see you tomorrow. Mwah.